right now on the 6 o'clock news.
And joining us now to offer some more insight into today's verdict, defense attorney Cary London. We've now basically had an hour or so to let it all soak in. Do you have any more elaborate thoughts now that we've had time to let us think about it a little bit?
Yeah, I think that Trump's choice of attorneys in Todd Blanche and the two females that he chose, Melina, I think he might have needed more aggressive representation. I think he got rid of Joe Tacopina, but I think Joe Tacopina might have been the guy for this case. I think that the closing summations by Todd Blanche was about 2 to 3 hours, by the DA was about 5 hours. Those are very long. I was told they were very wordy. I was told there wasn't so much showmanship. I wasn't in the courtroom, but a jury like this, I think, needed showmanship. They needed somebody to stand up and put on a show for them, because when you're on trial, especially in a case like this, it's a likability contest. It's a popularity contest. It's who do the jurors connect with more. And when you have a very polarizing defendant like Donald Trump, who's not going to take the stand, and Bianca, you asked a very interesting question earlier. Why didn't President Trump take the stand? Criminal defendants never take the stand.
Well, it's funny you bring up a popularity contest, so they must have really loved Michael Cohen then.
Michael Cohen, I saw this weekend at a restaurant. I saw him at Biblo K in Sag Harbor, and everyone was hugging him. Everyone was patting him on the back. Everyone was saying, great job. People had preconceived notions before going into this trial where they wanted to convict Trump. And I think the only way out of this was, as Imran said, defend the sanctity of marriage, have Miliana testify for him, and maybe Donald Trump should have testified, as you alluded to earlier.
Interesting. We talk about some historic cases. I mean, some of them, like memorable ones, O.J. Simpson's case. For people that watched that trial, the entirety of it, they were not surprised with the verdict. For people that watch here and there on the news, they were surprised. Do you think it kind of mirrored what happened here for people that were following along, that were inside the courtroom, that saw every single detail, compared to people that casually kind of popped in and out with information on this?
That's a great question, and I can tell why you grew up in a household with a father who's a judge, because that was a very judicial question. It's in theory versus in practice, right? We only saw what we saw in the news. Me and you were not inside the courtroom. We only read the pieces of the transcripts that were released. We didn't see every witness testify. We didn't judge the demeanor of every witness. We didn't judge the demeanor of Trump's defense counsel, of the prosecution. And so I think this will be something people talk about in 100 years, but I think it will be because it's a case of first impression. And I think we've never tried to former president criminally. We've never convicted a former president criminally. And I think everyone is going to be thinking about this when the Netflix special comes, when the True American Crime Story comes on this Donald Trump case. Everyone's going to be thinking about in theory versus in practice. So you're right. I have no idea what those jurors were thinking when they were inside the courtroom, observing these witnesses, evaluating these witnesses to determine the veracity of their statements. But to think you can get a conviction on the smoking gun being Michael Cohen, who's a professional liar who admitted to theft on the stand, I just don't see sitting well with the appellate division. I just don't see this case being affirmed. I see this being overturned. And I see, as you alluded to earlier, this is going to push certain people in one direction who might have voted for Trump, push certain people.
All right, Cary, just 1 second. We're looking right now live outside Trump Tower. You can see the former president walking into the building, giving a fist pump up to the waiting news copters above, knowing they're all there buzzing over Fifth Ave.